this is probably like the worst project I did all semester. Alright, hey guys. So today I'm going to be going through everything I made in my second year at Parsons as a fashion design major. I've been meaning to do this video for a while, just because I feel like I haven't been able to showcase any work I did in my sophomore year since I wasn't like doing any YouTube like in the past year. But I'm gonna be looking through all my old work that I did in the last year and reviewing it because some of the stuff I'm actually very proud of, but some of the stuff I kind of don't want to look at ever again. So let's start, shall we? So I'm gonna start with my design studio 1 projects, which was one of my core classes I had to take in my fall semester. And the first project we had to do was like design a collection of shirts based off of an aesthetic or a subculture of our choosing. And I chose like kind of like dark academia, but kind of like more like vampire gothic style. Um Honestly, I didn't really have a super clear vision for what my aesthetic was. I just knew what I liked and I wanted to make stuff that I liked. I think overall I would give it, I don't know, like a 7 out of 10. The second project of Design Studio 1, we had to create textiles or like textile manipulations based off of a film. And I chose Coraline. And basically I did a bunch of swatches. A lot of them were like bleaching and like laser engraving, because I was trying to capture the mood of the film. I think overall I actually think this is my favorite project that I did for that class for that semester. I think, I don't know, I really like doing, I had a really good time doing textile manipulations this time around, even though I don't really enjoy doing textile manipulations that much. But I found this project to be very fun. Um, and also I think because I had a stronger vision of what I wanted it to look like, um, that helped a lot more. Basically, after we did that, we had to like design a mini collection, like 10 looks using using the textile manipulations we created. Overall, I don't really love like the looks that I did for this collection, except like maybe a few of them. So I would say overall I would give this project like an 8 out of 10 or 8.5 out of 10. For my final for this class, I had to do something about fashion and the body, and I think I was just trying to do way too much with this concept, and I didn't really have like a super concrete like direction, which made it hard to figure out what it was I wanted to do. But basically my whole idea was like revealing and concealing the body through fashion and how we like use fashion to hide body insecurities. Um, yeah, I definitely could have narrowed down in terms of my concept, but I think this project really taught me how to do like a lot of drapings as well as like design iterations. So I think that was really helpful, and my illustrations definitely got a lot better between like the second project to this final project in this class. Um, Overall, I would give like 8 out of 10. Pretty similar to the previous project. Now, onto my Viscom class in fall semester. So Viscom is kind of like a drawing class, if you will. Um, yeah, that's basically what it is with a fashion focus. So a lot of like fashion illustration and stuff. But honestly, my professor for fall semester for Viscom did not really teach what I needed to know in terms of fashion illustration. It was a lot of like drawing from observation. But anyways, for my midterm for this class, I had to do like a War and Stories type of thing. If you don't know what that is, it's basically you pick a garment with of which you have an emotional connection with, and then you explain like why it's significant to you. So I picked this um taekwondo jacket that actually belongs to my mom. Well, it's mine now, but it was hers when she was in JC. I think I'm crazy for doing this, especially since I did this in like 2 days, but it was like all done in pen. Um, I'm actually really proud of how it turned out. I just remember losing so much sleep because of it, but it does look quite good. I'm not even gonna lie. I put so much effort into this, but yeah, this is obviously getting a 10 out of 10 because I genuinely put my blood, sweat, and tears into this. But for my final for that class, I don't know why I literally lost so much sleep over this class because my professor genuinely I could have showed up with the bare minimum and she would have been okay with it. For this project or this final, we had to choose like my professor described it as a tribe, but I think of it more as like a subculture. So I went back to this like gothic vampire aesthetic that I did at the beginning of the semester for my other class. We had to do like an illustration, whether it be like a fashion illustration or like whatever means it may be, of like identifiers of this part of or like this type of subculture or a person who would be a part of the subculture. So I chose to do like a modern day vampire. I would give myself a 9 out of 10 or 9.5 out of 10. I just like I spent so much time on this and I'm just glad it was finished and that it looks good, you know. But I definitely like my midterm a lot more though. Okay, moving on to CTS, which is like Creative Tech Studio. Um, it's basically just like the sewing class for fashion students. For the fall semester, we didn't have a lot of like creative projects because it is like our first sewing course of our like curriculum. So it was more focused on like technical skills, but we did make a shirt, like a men's tailored shirt, which I'm very proud of how it came out. And I don't know, I'm just happy with what it looked like and all the technical sewing I did. And it's actually wearable, but I will give that a 9 out of 10. For our like final, we had to do a creative shirt, which was like we basically just took a shirt and did like our own design. And I definitely think I did play it kind of safe for this shirt, but also my professor didn't want us doing anything too crazy because we only had like 2 weeks to do it. I think it's like a nice design, but I don't know if it's really my style or something that I would wear now. But I am proud of how it came out. Um, I would give this like 8.5 or 9 out of 10. Moving on to spring semester. So this is for my design studio class for the spring semester. For midterms, we had to, or like the first collection we created, we had to pick a muse that wasn't a celebrity. It could be a person, but honestly, a lot of people chose not to do people. So I chose the seasons as my muse, and I was really exploring the idea of what a season is. And through that, I kind of like came up with this like thesis that seasons are just transitional phases in our lives. And I wanted to do like a bridal inspired collection, not like bridal gowns, but I wanted to put emphasis on, change and movement because that's kind of what my whole idea of seasons is and how that is translated into love. Um, I think I could have done a little bit better on my illustrations, not gonna lie, but it is what it is. But overall, I do like it. So overall, I would give this like an 8.5 out of 10. Um, the next project was for my VCS 2, so VisCom 2 in the spring semester. This midterm was honestly like a hot mess. It was not good, which I feel really bad for my muse for. So for this class, we had to pick a muse, but this one had to actually be a person. I kind of messed up here because my professor said pick a muse that you personally know and can interact with. So I thought everyone was gonna pick like a friend or a family member or someone they knew. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna pick my friend as my muse. Literally everyone except for me and another girl picked like celebrities. Nothing against them, but I just wish I had done that because it would have made my life so much easier. Um because the whole point of this project was to present your muse and then say why they're significant to fashion and society. And that was really difficult for me because it's much easier to like paint that light on a celebrity. Also, I don't know why I was just not feeling this project. So my illustrations were low key not good. Like not even low key, like high key not good. I think they just looked like very unrefined and my professor probably thought like I could not draw. But whatever, it's fine. She probably just thought I improved a lot from midterm to final, so just totally okay. But I was just so unmotivated to draw for this class. I don't know why. I just could not do it. I would do this whole thing completely differently if I got the chance. This was probably like the worst project I did all semester. Maybe so far in the 2 years I've been at Parsons. So this is for sure like a 3 out of 10 or something like that. Okay, so next is going to be my creative tech 2 or CTS 2. We had to do a creative dress, a creative woven dress, which was aligned with the collection we were designing for midterms in our design studio class. So I picked um this look, the fourth look in my collection, which was this dress with it was like kind of like a baby doll puff sleeve dress with a train. The body of the dress was made with satin and it was lined, and then the puff sleeves and the train were made from silk chiffon, which was so difficult to sew. Not even just sew, I think cutting it was more difficult than actually sewing it. But I'm actually very proud of how this dress came out, and I will give it like 7 out of 10. Yeah. And then on top of this woven dress, we also had to do like a creative knit dress. I don't have a very good picture of this, but we basically just had to take like a knit jersey and then drape it and then make a dress. Um, which was it was fun because I never worked with knit before, so this was like a good experience to have. I should have used a different fabric because my knit wasn't actually a jersey knit, it was actually a very fine sweater knit. Um, so that's kind of on me, but I did like sewing it because it was one of I don't usually do like drapey things. I tend to do like stuff that's more structural because I like to pattern things out before I sew them. I'm not really like a drape and pin and sew type of person, but this was like a good experience to try something that I don't usually do. Um so yeah, I think overall it turned out well. Yeah, for a knit dress, a creative knit dress too, I would say is just like maybe like a 6 or 7 out of 10. For my elective for this past semester, in spring semester, I took this class called Fashion and Narrative. So for this class, the start of the semester we had to pick like a muse. Literally every class I've done, it has to do with like a muse basically. But for this muse, I'm literally like an idiot and I should have tried to connect everything together. But I did end up doing that in the end. But at the beginning, I should have definitely done that because it would have made my life so much easier. And I think my work would have just come out so much more cohesive and well thought out as well. But I did orchids as my muse, and I didn't know how she wanted me to present this. I think this project was just like dumb to me and like kind of like a waste of time because I never referenced back to it. And for the final, for which like when we had to like evolve the muse, I didn't even end up using a lot of what I had said. So this was like literally like a 2 out of 10 or something like this, or 2 or 3 out of 10. For the second project I had for this class, I had to take a song or a genre of music and tie it to fashion. So I chose to make a little short film. The genre of music I chose was alternative R&B, and I chose the song Luther by Kendrick Lamar because I was obsessed with it at the time that I was working on this project. I was actually pretty proud of this film because it's the first like short film I've ever done. I originally had a different plan for this film, but I'm happy with how it turned out. And the only thing was when I was presenting it though, the audio was kind of not working, which I was really like thrown off and I was kind of like really upset about it. But you know what? You live and you learn and you move on, you know? Um so overall I would give that like 7.5 out of 10. And now for my big final for all my classes in spring semester. So this is when something clicked in me and I was like, I'm gonna connect everything in my classes to all fit this one final. For design studio again, it was like create a collection. But this time we had to work with a collaborator to help guide our research. And my collaborator ended up being one of my friends. I was like thinking of this whole idea of overconsumption in fashion and how we don't love our clothes enough and form an emotional bond with the clothes we own, which kind of just leads us to buy mindlessly and then discard mindlessly. So the whole collection was supposed to be, you know, like made from super durable, long lasting materials, but with a focus on imperfections. Um, so I was working with my collaborator and we were talking about this idea of like an anti love and a love for what you do, kind of building off of my midterm about like the seasons and love. Um, but this time it was a little bit more somber. It was a ready to wear collection, so I did more like muted color palette, and also I wanted to do like an androgynous unisex line. Um, but yeah, so that's what I did for design studio, and then for Viscom, I had to do like a branding project for a brand of our own or a made up brand. So I just kind of took this collection and like made it into a brand, I guess, or like I made it so that I was like launching this collection as a brand. So for the branding aspect, we had to make like physical branding elements like business cards or like hang tags, stuff like that, which I really enjoyed because I do really enjoy doing all of that like computer digital work and thinking of like symbols and brand logos, and I really enjoyed that project. Also, as a part of like my branding element, I created a perfume which I am very very proud of. I still wear it to this day. Um, Literally, I got so many compliments on that perfume. I do want to continue developing it and maybe doing something with it. And then for CTS, we basically just had to make like a pair of pants from the collection we were designing. So I chose to make the pants from look 7 in my collection, which is basically just like a giant skirt almost. It's like pants with a wrap skirt, which is very like, it's very trendy right now. Everyone was doing pants with a skirt or something like that. Um, but I wanted to make them like tailored, like wide leg pants, but the skirt had like a huge like cutout with irregular lines. Again, playing on this idea of imperfection, but I really like the way the pants turned out, and I still wear them. I'm very happy with how they turned out, honestly. Those pants fit me perfectly because they were made to fit, and then tying it all into my elective final, where we had to go back into our first assignment about the muse. I kind of ran into some like difficulties because I had like two different muses and two different concepts, but luckily I was able to merge them together. So with the idea of orchids, because orchids um symbolize like growth and resilience. So I just took that concept, or like that's this idea, to and like linked it to my collection about, you know, imperfections and putting like long-term care and love into your clothes. Um because I was doing so much physical stuff for all my other classes, which I was presenting for my elective as well, I just decided to do like a little mini zine or like editorial of like the research and all the creative um iterations or like visual stuff that I did for that. And I just curated it into like a nice 5 spread, like flip through kind of thing. Overall, I'm very proud of how this whole like final turned out for everything. I worked very, very hard on this. Like everything, I tried to think out as carefully as possible, and everything was done with intentionality. Um, yeah, I would say like the overall collection, I would give it like a 9.5 out of 10. In terms of like my branding final, I literally made a whole perfume, and I'm genuinely never gonna shut up about it because I'm so proud of it. So that has to be like a 10 out of 10. For the pants, again, like I said, was good. You know, I think the only thing I would change is maybe the waistband. Maybe could have used a thicker fusible, but you know, it's completely fine. I'm happy. I still wear it. I do think the sewing in some parts were a little shoddy, but you can't see it. Only I know it's not good. A lot of difficult sewing for that pant actually, because it's so much irregular lines, and I did like a welt pocket with like irregular lines too, and that was kind of difficult as well. So I'm very happy with how it turned out. Yeah, 9 out of 10. And for the zine, I do wish I had more time and put a little bit more thought into this. I think it would have been better if I had more finished works to put into it, because it would have looked a lot more refined. But yeah, I would still say it's like an 8.5. Like, I don't know if I would give it a 9. Maybe 8.5 out or 9 out of 10. Yeah, I would say 9 is okay. Oh, that was a lot of talking. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed me talking about literally everything I made. I'm glad that I'm finally able to sit down and do this video, because I wish I had been able to show you guys the process of how I did everything throughout this year. I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I will see you guys later. Bye!